One life-changing training lesson I learned in 2021. Now, I've been training since 1999, and that's a cool number. It's like bragging rights, 1999, before 2000. In 2021, I was focused on entering and competing in my first bodybuilding competition, so that's where I learned my big lessons from. Lessons, plural. See, I clickbaited you in this video. So we got more than just one lesson, but the one thing is taking inventory of your movements and budgeting them should not be disregarded. It's on the screen. You can read it. Take a second. Absorb it. You see that? About 8 weeks after my bodybuilding competition, I couldn't do that.
I know you couldn't.
No, I couldn't. All right, let's go back inside. So we had been cutting calories down to the point to where even an extra 500 or 1,000 steps per day would really impede my recovery, make me fatigued. It would just make me, I'm out of breath.
More cardio.
Aside from about 15 minutes of moderate intensity cardio in the morning and about a 50 to about an hour and a half long workout in the afternoon, I didn't have much energy for much else. All my recuperative capacities were going into that, in building muscle and getting as lean as I could, tapering down towards contest date. So I'd spend a lot of my time sitting on purpose, intentionally sitting and doing nothing to conserve and preserve my energy, because the calories have gotten so low that I was on a very razor edge. So you might say, why not just eat some more food, dude? Like, why don't you just eat an extra 500 calories so that you can just support that extra little bit amount of activity? Well, it didn't work out that way. When we tried that, the leaning out stopped. So, because the recuperative capacities in the body are very limited. They're not just based on the amount of calories you consume, they're based on a lot of other things. Otherwise, we could just eat an infinite amount of food and we could keep moving all day long. It doesn't work out that way.
How does this relate to people who are not elite athletes? Who are not an athlete for their job?
All right, here's it on the screen again. Taking inventory of your movements and budgeting them should not be disregarded. So how does this work with someone who's not competing in bodybuilding? Because, well, instinctively what we do is you do more, you eat more to recover. You do less, you're not as hungry, don't eat as much. But for an elite athlete, someone who really has a goal to really push their numbers or really achieve something, it doesn't even have to be athletics. Opening a business or succeeding in school or finishing a project. And you look at everything else that's kind of going on throughout the day, and you need to budget and economize the things that are taking energy away from that, energy leaks basically.
Are you essentially talking about like a movement budget, be it like a movement diet in your case, or a movement bulk, and maybe someone who's a little more sedentary?
Yeah, those are pretty cool. Wait, would you say a movement bulk?
Yeah. That's
Taking inventory basically means looking at all the different ways you spend your energy and then, economizing them in a way to where you can have more energy reserved for the things that you're actually trying to push at any given time. It's kind of like a micro periodization lesson. So with periodization, it will set you free. As it is said by the gurus, periodization will set you free. You cannot be excelling in strongman, rock climbing, arm wrestling, graduating from, PhD. You just can't perform on everything to the maximum level all the time. You have to pick and choose what is going to work with what time slots, in your.
so okay. So essentially, what you're saying is what goes on maintenance mode and what goes into building mode.
Correct. But it starts with taking inventory of your movements, budgeting them, and not disregarding them. If you Google like personal development and productivity tips, you're going to get the same crap in the end. You're going to get eat well, exercise, sleep, take care, self-care, meditate, learn how to breathe better,
manage stress.
You're gonna get all this crap, okay? It's just like, it's not that easy. Look at your energy leaks. Look at where you are inefficient throughout the day. Look at where you can cut out movements and steps to conserve your energy or just save. Like, tension.
So you're not just talking about strictly about physical like energy, but just also mental energy too.
Oh, it's all this energy is kind of related. I'm gonna go sit down over here. I'm so excited about this lesson that I learned. It's still new to me. That's why I'm actually having a little bit hard time explaining it, because I'm still kind of reworking it in my head. Going back to the bodybuilding competition, I found that I have a Withings ScanWatch here. I found that if I went above 4,000 steps per day, if I went above that, it was almost 100% correlated with being tired, having bad workouts, being flat, getting hungry too soon before my next meal. If I stayed below that number, my workouts were fine, my physique was filled out, everything was working pretty well. If you're doing a movement bulk, as Sam says, you pick an arbitrary, psychologically satisfying number like 10,000 steps per day, and you work towards that, and you try to achieve that every day. For me, it was limiting. I only had 4,000 steps to spend per day. So if Sam asked me, hey, there's a package for you in the porch, I'm gonna be like, well, what? I only have so many steps left to spend for the day. I know this is an extreme example, but if these small fluctuations in, the amount of movements I took really had that drastic effect on what I did, what does it mean for you and your goals? What is erratic, wasteful, useless movement? With that also said, the reverse is true. A lot of people aren't at that level where they're wasting so much energy that they're not recovering well from their workouts. They are not moving enough, so they might be sitting too much. An extra 1,000 steps might be all you need. Subtracting 200 or 300 calories could be the difference. They're small incremental steps, but you are at least taking inventory of these things and budgeting them. And this year I learned that even the very smallest amount made a huge difference. And I want you to think about that for everything that you do. Where are the friction points in your life? And I wrote a book on this, The Builder. And I wrote a book during prep, which was really hard. The Let's Grow Some Muscle book is really hard to write because I was tired. So a lot of the energy conservation I was doing by limiting my movements was also in an effort not just to have good workouts, but to have good intellectual output on creating that book by the deadline that I set myself, which is right before my bodybuilding competition. One of the tools I found useful in doing this, in creating the budget, inventorying things, and actually having some sort of quantifiable way of tracking this, was literally having a tracking device. This is the Withings ScanWatch, and look, I've been wearing this since quite a while. You can tell I've been really enjoying and wearing this thing. This thing has added a lot of value to my training and my recovery and my well-being. The watch tracks steps, it tracks your sleep, it has automatic data sync. It also has a lot of other cool features like a clinically validated ECG, a heart rate sensor, and a clinically validated oximeter to measure oxygen saturation. ScanWatch is water resistant up to 50 meters, scratch proof due to its sapphire glass screen, up to 30 days of battery life. Quite amazing. I love this. The most comfortable watch I've ever worn. And check out the data on my screen. You can see it's pretty spooky how accurate this sleep tracking is. Like, it'll show you when you woke up, and it's like spot on how long you were awake. Shows you your deep and light sleep cycles. You can see the bands on the screen there in terms of where I was in deep sleep and where I was in light sleep. So that helped me determine, what supplements I was taking or what activities I was doing, whether it was a hot tub or a bath before going to bed, how it was affecting my sleep score. You can click the link in the description below, check out the ScanWatch. I had it before it was even released in the US, so I was pretty psyched about that. I've been using it for quite a while, and I'm still using it, and it's a fantastic tool. And this is like the third smartwatch I've had. It's my favorite one because the other smartwatches I've had, it can be really distracting. They sync with all your apps, and it's constantly bugging you. This one is like the right balance between it gives you information and it's not distracting. So I think it's great. The next one is prep before you prep, and yes, I prepared a script for this video. It looks like I skipped a bunch of things I wanted to say, so I'm just going to say those real quick because some other things that helped me get through bodybuilding prep were running shoes, which are super helpful because they make taking steps easier. Also, mise en place, minding your space, knowing where the correct flow and layout of your world is, so that, preparing that ahead of time so that when you're actually getting to the crunch time of when you're going to be running a very hard training cycle or preparing for a competition or entering a mode where it's like an 8-week block of something, you're prepared for it. Prep before you prep. One thing that's super useful is having like Instacart or a meal delivery service or anything that, because if you're dead tired in the day and you got to go putz around in a grocery store at 10 o'clock at night to gather your food, dude, like, I understand that meal delivery services and getting meals and getting your groceries delivered does it could be outside your budget. But if you budget for those things for just a specific time of year, like 8 weeks, hey, and this isn't just for athletics, right, Sam?
Correct. I mean, think about, let's say if you're an accountant and it's tax season and you're in the office all day.
It is getting really windy. We're gonna go back inside the gym now. You don't have to have those type of luxury services and outsource those type of things year round. You can just do it for a specific block, whatever your peak season is. My hands, I'm doing this again.
Well, it's sort of like you were writing a book. You don't want to write a book when you're deep in prep.
No, that was really hard to write, let's grow some muscle. And it's good, I did a good job. Somehow my brain functioned, but that's probably because I was taking inventory and budgeting my steps for the day so that I could conserve my energy so that when I sat down at the computer, I wasn't.
So you mentioned basically a nice, honest inventory of your movements. You mentioned prep before you prep. Is there anything else that you learned?
Yes, elite athletics and trying the very hardest you can to achieve something, giving everything you got, it's selfish. Every sport, everything that is at a high level that really pushes you, if you're pushing yourself to a level that is just like kind of tapping out your potential and your talents, and that's everything you got, it becomes selfish. It becomes, even if it's an isolated individual activity, like bodybuilding is, and powerlifting is not a team sport. It's just you, but it is a team sport. It is a team sport. All elite pursuits at the highest level are team sports.
Be it athletics or not, right? Could be maybe you're pursuing
anything,
education, etc.
Education. You need a support system in place. That support system is something that you should probably be working on and prioritizing year round, but at least establishing it and getting it in order before you enter a peak season for whatever it is you do. So Sam, you picked up the slack from me big time during my bodybuilding prep. This is why when you watch muscle and strength videos on YouTube, some of the bodybuilders and some of the athletes that they feature, if they're really close to their competition date and they're filming in their house and stuff, take a look. There's usually boxes and there's shit sitting around all over the place. There's just shit that's not getting done because you're putting everything you got into whatever that is, that things get out of balance. Balance is hitting an extreme and hitting another extreme. It's not about trying to hit everything evenly all the time. I did outsource my nutrition to Dorian Hamilton, and I'm good at nutrition. So in 2020, I got myself pretty shredded on my own just using a calorie app, and I know a lot about this stuff, but I took the decision making out of it as well. And I had his eyes and his expertise, and I worked with him so that I could allocate more of my mental movement, towards training itself, my actual training. So I didn't outsource that. I could have, and that could have been smart, but I didn't want to do that. But I did outsource my diet, and I had a lot of help from my team, Travis and Aaron at Group Genie. They help us out with a lot, my family. All elite athletics, all elite pursuits, at their highest level, at the level that pushes you to your highest potentials, it really taxes your potentials. Those are all team sports. And you know what? We're getting close to me moving to another machine. We're getting close to 2022, and New Year's resolutions, goals, things like that start to happen. Look, you can prep. You got 10 days left or something before next year. Prep before you start your next, I'm gonna do everything right forever starting January 1st. A lot of people do that. And well, why don't you just prepare now for that so it starts now? Having a goal that's actually, creative, worth a crap. Most people are like, I want this much money, and I want a 500-pound deadlift, and I want to learn how to do a backflip, and I want this car, and
just bought this new Lamborghini here. It's fun to drive up here in the Hollywood Hills.
It's good to have goals because, it's what the goal does. It's not what a goal is, it's what a goal does. How about a goal like, who'd be a better friend? Or I'm going to have better friends.
So basically create and invest in a support structure.
Yeah, support structure, because a support structure is going to, from a very selfish standpoint, a support structure is going to save you steps. It's almost like martial arts. You gotta it's a very tactical, strategic way of dealing with your own psychology and your own things that make you motivate. They're a long set, man. A symbiosis, mutual, friendship is an exchange. Being a good friend is a good goal. When it comes to training lessons, friendships affect your training. How could they not? And a lot of the stuff, you probably know, but it's going to take something like I don't know, for me, it took entering a bodybuilding competition and really pushing it as hard as I could for the lessons to really click.
I think you really knew, like, oh, this is important when you're really at that point where your resources are stretched to the max.
So what I want you guys to do now is give a thumbs up on this video and then write a comment below on, you know, some of the training lessons you learned this year, and go ahead and write them down. And the thing about writing is kind of cool, guys, is even if like it's a long YouTube comment and no one reads it or responds to it, it was still something that you took time to clarify something that was in your head. So you got something out of it yourself. In the off chance that someone does read it and respond, then you can collaborate. So it will be interesting to read what you guys, what your training lessons you learned this year were. I do want to thank you guys. And we are going to be doing a cool video coming up pretty soon, right, Sam? Where it's almost the 5-year anniversary of me quitting my day job.
Yes, and you becoming a Jujimufu as your profession.
2021's done. 2022 is coming up. Let's make it the best we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.